This set of episodes was streamed and recorded in between 2020 and 2021. It took me this long to upload them, partly because life happened and partly because I'm a slow video editor. Either way, I hope you enjoy this episode. If you don't, please send it to someone who will.
Am I audible? Do I sound like you can hear me clearly? Why can't you see me?
I can't see you too well, but I can hear you.
Wave your hand. Yes. I see you move. I see you move. It works. Nobody moved. Nobody moved from wherever they are. Everybody, all of you are in the right place. Okay, so could you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
My name is Maanu. I'm from Lahore. I'm a singer-songwriter and a rapper. And I've been doing music for the past 4 years. I've been writing original songs for the past 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I released my first song, I think 2 years ago now. Yeah, I think 2 years ago.
What does that feel like?
Like releasing a song or the fact that it's been so long?
Both.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like as soon as I release a song, I kind of dissociate myself from it. Like it doesn't feel as special anymore because pehle jab main likh raha hota hu, it's mostly just so that I can hear it, right? Like so just so that I can listen to it. And then once I release it, it's kind of like out there. So I don't really feel like, I don't know, there's no excitement in listening to it. After like the first 2-3 days, it's kind of like, okay, I'm done with this one, on to the next one. Like,
Right. And so, but then what made you actually finally release your first track? Which was, I think, Baat Ki Baatein, if I'm not wrong.
yeah. I had been writing songs 2 years before I released Baat Ki Baatein. Like, काफी देर से मैं लिख रहा था, and it was all about like finding the resources to like get my song produced and everything, because like there aren't many resources or many studios that just want to help out, like young artists who want to release like their first single ever and stuff. So it was mostly just trying to find people who would actually want to work with me. And initially, and also like matlab, what was really important was also deciding the right song to, कि अच्छा ये debut single होना है, so it has to be the right song as well. So I think it kind of took me 2 years to like build a catalog and then decide which one should be like my go-to in that sense.
Right. And so I don't know much about what the indie scene in Pakistan is all about. So do live gigs have a different meaning or a theme in Pakistan? Because in India, it's basically, when we say live gig, we mean just the musicians coming. It's usually at a bar or a restaurant, and that's about it.
Yeah, so there's two different gig circuits in Pakistan. One's like the commercial kind of circuit, which again has like subdivisions. So you can get corporate gigs, which will generally be associated with some brands, and like they'll be, matlab unka koi launch ho raha hoga or something, and then they'll have a concert with it or something. And then the other is basically concert at schools. Like that's the main like goal as well, I think, for most artists here. कि हमें schools के जो events हो रहे हैं, competitions हो रहे हैं, MUNs and everything, like उसपे, because हमेशा कोई social event चल रहा होता है साथ. So I think that's the market that at least for me or any pop artist, I feel, wants to kind of target that, because that's the most direct like contact that they can have with their target audience. So that's the commercial woe. For that, you have to break through the indie scene, right?
Right.
So with the indie gigs, we don't have bars. So वो वाला like मतलब aspect exist नहीं करता है यहाँ पे. कुछ cafes पे होती रहती हैं. I mean, this year मतलब for the longest time we didn't have a concert culture at all, other than the ones जो schools में हो रहे थे, because schools had like the resources to be able to manage like security and everything. That was the main concern for the longest time. So this year we kind of had a revival, and like there was a show every weekend, and like do shows, and we would be deciding which one we would. For me, like this was probably like the first time in my life that I would actually have so many options as well as a listener. I mean, like not to play shows. And is saal wo kafi onward, and then we have 2-3 venues which are kind of like matlab they're specifically made for indie gigs. Like we have this place in Lahore. It's called True Brew Records,
Right.
and it's run by Jamal Rahman, who's like a veteran producer. He also produced my first song. So Jamal is someone who's kind of, I mean, True Brew is kind of like the home to Lahori music, Lahori indie music, because udhar sabse zyada opportunities milti hain. And like even this whole like gig season, there was a show happening every weekend. Bands coming from all over Pakistan, koi Karachi ke, koi Islamabad ke. So that was fun. Like I feel like ek do hain, yeah, is tarah ki hain, but there is no culture. I mean, there was like एक बन रहा था, एक revival बन रहा था culture का, but
Right.
that kind of like मतलब stopped because of the pandemic.
So why wasn't there a concert culture earlier? What do you think was the reason for that?
Yeah, for the longest time we couldn't hold concerts because of security reasons. Like जो आपको government की तरफ से एक वो चाहिए होती है permission to hold like a public, you know, उस तरह का event, वो मिलती ही नहीं थी because of security reasons. Because for the longest time, like it wasn't really safe to have concerts.
But okay, we've never had that. I mean, we do require certain in India, like at least when we say concerts or music festivals, we have this thing where we have to just take certain permissions, get like an ambulance in place, have like a security personnel in place, and then we can go ahead with it.
Yeah, I think यहाँ पे बस हालात खराब थे because of the whole war on terror and everything. So like Lahore really wasn't like when I was growing up in like 2008 से लेके like 10 तक probably. It was like मतलब हर रोज bomb blasts हो रहे and everything. So we couldn't really like मतलब there was a blast outside my school. So we couldn't really like that really wasn't an option. I feel like मतलब वो like generally that wasn't really a priority for anyone anymore. Like सबने arts को और उस सारे चीज को थोड़ा miss ही करा दिया था. So I think that was a major reason. I remember जब मैं बहुत छोटा था तब तो हो रहे होते थे बहुत सारे concerts when like artists like Ali Azmat and Atif and Ali Zafar and all these guys were on their peak in Pakistan. So तब हो रहे होते थे. But अभी भी with regards to festivals though, एक main festival है, like the biggest indie music festival in Pakistan is the Lahore Music Meet, and that happens like every February. And that's like matlab for me as well for the past 4 years, that was my ultimate goal, to be playing at LMM, because it's like the biggest, like from all over the country, like people submit their applications to play and then they choose. And then matlab, it's not just like it's not just bands coming and playing. There's also like panel discussions and workshops and everything. So it's like a really interactive kind of like it's दो दिनों का होता है, that's like the 2 days that you have to like go and meet all your favorite artists and everything because they're just roaming around. So this time in February, this was the biggest LMM like that Lahore has ever seen, and yeah, it was just amazing. I finally like it was a dream come true for me to play there as well.
You did. Congratulations. What was that like?
It was everything that I had imagined it to be and more, because there's like 2 different stages. So one's the outdoor stage जहाँ पे all day long you like performances चल रही होती है, and then there's the indoor stage जहाँ पे रात को like main act kind of.
Yeah, the headliners.
Exactly. We weren't allowed to call. I was part of the team as well. We weren't allowed to call it the headline stage because then outdoor stage वाले artists जो हैं उनकी ego hurt हो जाती कि like क्या
yeah,
करना.
that makes sense.
Yeah, so I had always wanted to play at the outdoor stage because like at this point in my career before LMM I had only released 2 songs. So I was like, I mean, I can't really qualify to play like a headliner slot either right now. But like do you know Talal Qureshi? He's a Pakistani producer.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, so he was headlining the set and me and Talal had been working on some songs together. So he called me during his set and we did a song together at the headline stage as well. So there was matlab जो मैंने imagine किया हुआ था उससे भी, it was just insane. Probably like the best 2 days of my life.
Oh, I'm glad. So what kind of genres do you see at the LMM?
Every genre. Like, so we had a total of 16 acts playing over the course of 2 days. Wow. So we had stuff from like Sufi rock like Mikal Hassan band. वो तो जरूरी होता है, like Sufi rock Pakistan में you can't really have music without it. Then we had three Pepsi. Pepsi has this Battle of the Bands show and everything. So the winners of the Bob, they were playing. So that kind of like Qawwali rock type, I guess, Eastern rock type. उसमें आ जाता है. Then we also had really cool fusion type, like deep house with sitar playing on top of it.
Ooh, I love that.
Boghle funk and fake shamans. And then we had a band from Karachi called Towers, they're just phenomenal. Like, and so yeah, it's all kinds. And then I was playing two other hip hop artists were also playing. So like, it's kind of like, matlab, if you go to the festival and let's say you're a fan of a certain genre, if you're going to be there all day, you're going to find some pocket in between in which you really enjoy yourself. And it's like the quality of music is like, I mean, no one's ever disappointed with anyone's sets. Like, it's that good.
I'm sure. Have you heard of the Weekender and Supersonic in India?
No, I haven't.
So the Weekender started out as something which was more indie rock based, and eventually they did grow. And Supersonic used to be purely electronic that started shifting towards indie. So both of them converge somewhere. So I feel like this sounds a little bit like that because I've been for both, and every year, like, I have to be at Supersonic no matter what.
Actually, I think it's similar basically.
Yeah. So what's the Qawwali scene like right now? This is one question that I actually received from someone who wanted to know.
Yeah, Qawwali still is like a super popular genre. I mean, for the masses especially. I think Qawwali has kind of been reduced to shadi music. So like, shadi ke functions ho rahe honge aur ek zarur Qawwali night hogi. So it's kind of like, I mean, I said reduced because it's like, I mean, I feel like it deserves its own place as well, like in a commercial sense as well. But mostly though, it's only on like weddings or like, if like my university occasionally has a Qawwali night or something, but it's not something like, oh, this venue pe ye wale Qawwal is weekend baja rahe hain, do you want tickets and stuff? It's not that. It's more like oriented towards like wedding entertainment and stuff like that.
Right. And what are the upcoming genres?
Yeah, I feel like I'm a bit late saying this, but I feel like hip hop. But at the same time, I recently discovered that we also have a thriving hip hop scene. I mean, I always knew we had a lot of artists here who were consistently putting out music. But I was just going through like YouTube views of like different artists, and it's just insane. Like, they have millions of views, which is crazy. Because I think some Pakistani hip hop artists have also broken through to India, and because like I saw some collaborations as well between hip hop artists from like across the border. So I feel like it's slowly like seeping in. I mean, हम लोग late है ना, हम लोग like पाकिस्तान की जो music scene है वो 10 साल पीछे चलता है सबसे. जब बाकी पूरी दुनिया rock कर रही थी तो तब हम लोग अभी भी like film music कर रहे थे. Then हम late 90s और early 2000s में जाके हम rock में आए जब बाकी सब थोड़े electronic उसमें चले गए थे. And then when everyone else, and then we're just late, and then everyone went from electronic to hip hop, but we were still stuck in a electronic space with bands like Somewhat Super doing really well. And now I feel like it's finally like hip hop is coming into the mainstream. I think so.
No, you're right. I feel like maybe even in India, I saw that trend with at least with gig culture and not maybe concerts or the music that was being put out. It was like we had there was a phase where it was just rock or just metal, and then we started shifting to house music. Then we started shifting to techno. Then we started shifting to disco.
Exactly.
So like right now, before the lockdown happened, disco was the whole thing. Everyone was, doing disco gigs and stuff like that. But I feel like, it also has a lot to do with exposure, don't you think? Or the access to the information.
I mean, yeah, but like now with the internet, like I don't know if that's really as big a problem anymore. Like,
yeah, that's true.
I feel like it's all about whether or not that music is being made or not. Like, because there's 2-3 artists who are doing that kind of a genre, and then there's just enough people doing it that like they just kind of take over, as well. Like, I mean, any genre like takes over from the other just because more people start making music that fits into that genre. So I feel like this number of people who were interested in hip hop just kind of like, I mean, I think they're more than the number of people who would enjoy something EDM, I guess. Like, I feel like इसी तरह का trend होता है.
That's true. What are some of the big names that we have in Pakistan?
In hip hop or
In
generally?
in basically the indie scene, but it could be hip hop, or it could be rock, or it could be country, or anything.
Yeah, तो मेरा ख्याल है indie scene में the biggest artist we have right now is Shamoon Ismail. And I feel like he's that one artist who has successfully broken through into the mainstream. Like he did it. Like I feel like because like मैं जिस तरह पहले भी बता रहा था, there's like those concerts जो कि schools में हो रहे होते हैं and everything, and he was playing those shows. Those are the only shows that you can get consistently, right? Because
Yeah.
every school is gonna have some event. So that's your goal, to get like 2 gigs every month to have like a sustainable career. I mean, and he was successfully doing that. So I think he's probably on top in that sense, that every song he releases, a lot of people go and listen to it. Like I feel like that's how we can judge it. And uske alawa indie scene mein yaar, Abdullah Siddiqui is someone who I feel like deserves to be on the top as well, because he's making like some Billboard level music, which is insane, and he's not getting enough recognition for it, I feel. But I guess it's because language barrier. He sings in English, where Shamoon is more like palpable because of his like singing in Punjabi and like thoda sa English bhi and everything. Indie scene mein I think ye do log hain. Generally in the industry, like in hip hop, young stunners are doing really well. There's 2 guys from Karachi.
Okay.
They're doing really well. Obviously, Faris Shafi, like, goes without saying. He's probably, we say now, he used to be the biggest, but I feel like maybe young stunners are bigger now just because of the fact that they've been more like consistent in releasing music, and Faris only drops a random song, like from time to time. But I feel like anyone would like agree that technically and like flow wise, rhyme schemes, and all the technicalities that come with rapping, he's probably like the best. उसके अलावा वही लोग हैं जो 15 साल पहले like म्यूजिक बना रहे थे और शोज बजा रहे थे, बाकी वही लोग हैं जो अभी भी पॉप चला रहे हैं और वो बस बैठे हुए अपने महलों में.
Right. So, speaking of all of these people, who are some of the artists who really inspired you to do your work?
Yeah, I feel like there were many artists that inspired me, in the sense that artists that I would listen to, generally. But there's no artist that I heard and I was like, oh, I want to start writing songs because of this artist. I think I started writing songs because of the fact that there weren't enough original artists in the scene उस वक्त. Like, I mean, I could, मतलब वही लोग थे जो कि बार-बार music बना रहे थे, and there was this like cover culture जो कि बस छाया हुआ था. Everyone was just doing covers. Even those people who were already on top of like the industry, even they're doing covers. Like all of these corporate like जो भी corporations के साथ साथ shows चल रहे हैं and everything on TV, they're all focused on covers, right? No one's focusing on original music. I think that's what motivated me the most, that no one was telling a story that I would be able to relate to. Like, I'm not saying that Sufi music isn't cool or anything, but there's a level to which I can relate to that compared to someone जो कि मेरी ही जुबान में मेरी ही like words use करके is telling my story कि oh हाँ मैं इस गली से गुजर रहा था और ये हुआ and ये वो, like there wasn't anything that I could relate to, and that's what motivated me most. I wanted to make something that people my age, my friends, and generally my generation and people living in my city could just relate to and find common ground, like shared experiences and everything. So I think that was the main motivation rather than any artist, I feel.
Right. I get that. And how would you describe your music? Would you say you were more pop, or are you more hip hop, or are you more R&B? Where would you fit yourself?
I'm all 3 of these things.
Okay, but why all 3 and why not just one?
Yeah, I think because I listen to all 3.
Hmm.
and I really like all three. And if I had to choose one out of all three, I would never be able to choose.
Hmm.
And because of the fact that because I listen to it and I like it so much, I could write all three genres. Like, matlab, I can write raps, I can also sing. So I was like, why not combine the two and do R&B? And
Right.
like, so I think that's kind of like, it's just I'm making whatever I feel like making, like not being like, I don't want to be put in a box and be like, okay, this is um an R&B artist or he's a hip hop artist. I want to be that artist that every time I announce that I'm releasing a song, I want people to just be confused and just anticipate which side of myself I'm going to show, like when I release it. I want there to be like that. Even like with my live gigs as well, like there's like the hip hop and the R&B pop. I keep switching in between. So like I feel like we're interesting that there. It's you never know what to expect.
I mean, is that you never know what to expect for the people listening to your music or for you also?
I guess both. Like when I'm writing, I don't really know which direction it's gonna go in, but I think more so for the people listening. I think,
Right.
especially for everyone who's listening for the first time. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I was one of them, and I fell in love with Darwaze, and I'm just playing it and blasting it everywhere, anywhere I can to anyone who'd listen.
thank you.
So it was so good, and I even right before this call, I played your entire discography so far. I had like CGPA, Khwab, and I think there was one with someone called Taha.
Ji, yeah, yeah. By myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was listening to that and it was pretty cool. I really, enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you.
So tell me a little more about why you write the way you do and the kind of lyrics or the kind of names you choose for your tracks.
Yeah, I think. I mean, if you really focus on my lyrics, I'm not really मतलब मैं कोई बहुत sophisticated words नहीं use कर रहा and like I feel like if मतलब someone who's really like into literature and everything, if they read my lyrics, they'll be like, "ये क्या MEC बातें हैं,"
Hmm.
because they're like, everything I say, I want to say it as simply as possible.
Right.
Because I mean, when we're talking generally to each other, we're always talking quite simply. Like we're not using elaborate words and like fancy vocabulary and everything. It's all very like raw. And in
Mhm.
my songs, I'm either talking to myself or I'm talking to someone. It's always that first person like वो वाली चीज चल रही होती है more than like इस तरह के भी कुछ हैं that I haven't released which are more like third person, but most of it is just a conversation either with myself or with the listener or with whoever I'm singing for. So that's why I feel like, I mean, I just want to keep it as simple as possible, and I want to use the words that we'd be using in like if we were generally having a conversation, because I feel like
Uh,
that's what gives it its authenticity. Like you can hear it and you can immediately be like, हाँ, we बहुत deep बात नहीं की, but जिस तरह से कर दी है, it's cool. Like I can relate to it. That's the main goal, like for people to be able to relate.
yeah, and you have a new album that should be out by the time I put this out.
Yes, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Could you tell us a little more about it?
Yeah, so it's my debut album. It's called Yen City.
Hmm.
So मैं थोड़ा सा येन का सारा मतलब बताता हूँ. So yen is basically a word जो कि हमारी generation में एक बहुत common सी like it's just lingo mostly, like it's used in casual conversations all the time, at least with my friends, though it does. Like I can only speak for myself, but I have heard it like
Hmm.
और जगहों पे भी. But what it means is basically, I think the most like जो मेरी interpretation and the context that I use it in, I think it would be chaos
Hmm.
or excitement, like somewhere in between, depending on if you're the source of yen or if you're a victim of yen. So
Right.
like, if you're a source, like let's say we're all really bored or something and we want to do something exciting, so we'll be like, "Yeah, acha aajo yen dalte hain."
Hmm.
Say yeah. But if you're stuck in traffic and like बहुत annoy हो रहे हो, you can also be like, "यार मैं किस yen में फंसा हूँ." So
Yeah.
I feel like I wanted to make, so the album isn't like a concept album, it's just that it's the same two characters who are telling a story or sharing their experiences, and they're all set in the same place. So it's an introductory kind of project, and that's why I wanted to dedicate it to Lahore and kind of create a new musical identity for Lahore as well, for people to be able to hear a certain type of sound and be like, oh no, that's Lahore's sound, you know, or like that's the new Lahore sound. So
Right.
Lahore is a yen city because like, matlab, chaos ki bhi kami nahi hai or excitement ki bhi kami nahi hai. It's just every day it'll be either of the two. So that's the main, like, that was my thought process behind like compiling all of these songs together, because I wrote them like during a duration of like 2 years. So
Wow.
it's just basically choosing songs that would fit well together as an introductory chapter, because मतलब एक different vibes भी हैं हर गाने की, so it kind of like gives you, if you, once the album is out and you can listen to the whole thing start to end, like it'll give you a good teaser of what you can expect from me in the future. That was the main goal behind it.
That's pretty cool. I really, I hope it's well received. So what's the feedback you've received for the first 3 tracks, which was Darwaze Khwab and CGPA?
Yeah, pata nahi, like I may sound a bit ungrateful here, but yeah, pata nahi, I feel like the songs aren't getting the attention that they deserve. Maybe that's just because I'm biased and they're my songs and they mean something to me. But other than that, like it's just I have to believe that they deserve more, because what they're getting right now isn't exactly like what I had imagined. But it's not doing bad either, because most artists who like Junki debut album, they don't get as many streams as I feel that I'm getting. So I guess that's good. But like it's always, there's this constant need that I have to keep doing more, and to like, it's just gets toxic as well, because it means that I'll never be happy with
Or
whatever I do.
satisfied? Yeah, you and me
Yeah,
both. It is always, it's not good enough, or I need to do
exactly.
more.
अभी
I
भी और चाहिए, अभी भी और चाहिए. Yeah. So मतलब Khwab did really well. Khwab was the one song that like I always knew would do really well. I still feel like it could have done even better.
Hmm.
But maybe that's also because none of these songs, other than Darwaze, had a music video, and no one really has other than people who are actually fans. No one's gonna go and like, no one has the patience to like randomly go and listen to an audio compared to like how the level of interest they would have if it was like a video based content. I feel like, so that could be a reason as well.
Possible, but I have the conflicting thought where it's like, कौन बैठ के video देखेगा? It's better to listen to an audio so that they can go to different like screens and they don't have to be stuck to a screen and stuff like
I
that.
guess.
So maybe I think I have a feeling it's going to do well. I think you have to just release more and it will just happen.
Yes, hopefully. Like the whole plan was, it's not gonna happen on the first album. Like, I mean, I would have loved if it had, but like, I guess it's like a learning curve, and like we have to just keep on going. I'm hopeful. Like, mostly artists aren't very like enthusiastic in the sense, because like there's no like proper future that you can have. Like, the music scene mein, there's no way you can sustain yourself other than like just hoping that you make it. But like, yeah, I'm gonna try my best. That's for sure.
One thing I want to say is that like how you have yen, we have something called rada, which I had spoken to you about, which essentially means the same thing.
Tell me more about it though.
No, rada is like when you said yen machate, we'd say rada machate. I don't use it very often, but it is very common. And otherwise, if something's like going nuts, you just go like, "Kya rada chal raha hai yahan pe?" So it's very vague. But if not, I want to dedicate an entire section to just slang, where we just teach each other slang. Maybe towards the end of this, I want to move on and ask you, if not through gigs, how do musicians sustain themselves financially in Pakistan? Because here we have like private gigs, we have other options like corporate gigs, private gigs, doing like teaching music. A lot of musicians I know resort to teaching music to someone else to get like a sustainable income. So how does it work out there?
You can't have music. You can't do only music and expect to like sustain yourself. Like, I mean, you have to be working some other job in some other field, saath to be able to put out music in the first place, I feel. Because music isn't going to pay the bills, especially if you're not getting shows. Like gigs, mil gayi, there bhi wohi hai, corporate gigs or ye wo, but it's, I feel, matlab, I think compared to India, to for sure, it's kafi kam hai. And streaming, because Spotify doesn't officially like exist in Pakistan,
Yeah.
and Apple Music we have, but no one here is used to the idea of having to pay for music.
Yeah.
Like even with gigs, it's the same. Like people will just expect ke "Acha nahi, yahan pe to hum muft mein ghusenge,"
Huh.
or that they won't have to pay. Like matlab, to even stream music or anything really. So there's no other way that you can like earn other than like working some other job or teaching. Some of like some indie musicians that I know do teach at schools. They teach music. So I guess wo chal raha hota hai saath saath. I don't think other than like if you make it like into the mainstream, just Shamoon ne kar liya. So if you're getting 2 to 3 shows every month at the level that he's at, like then you're good to go. I feel. मतलब फिर आप कर सकते हो.
Right. I mean, that does make sense. I've seen a lot of, this whole gig culture where people are performing for free also. There's this whole thing that's gaining up in, at least in Pune, the city I'm from. We have this thing where someone was, very upset that, how can you do a gig for free? Because it takes away from the value that you bring to a particular event. And it also, gets people to think, अच्छा ये free में करेगा तो इसको भी करना चाहिए.
वो impression है ना कि music तो hobby होती है.
Oh yeah.
ये है ना scene.
Any form of art.
It's not. I mean, they don't take it as a service, like because matlab, it is a service. You have investment of like money as well as time, and then you have
Yeah.
to learn a certain skill set to be able to write or record or produce or do any of those things, and then you invest more money in it when you put it out for distribution and everything, or when you make a music video or everything. So like obviously artists expect something in return, like kuch to hame, like matlab, we're putting out this music and you're listening to this music and it's one of the reasons that you're happy in life, let's assume. So
Yeah.
matlab, at least like, I mean, just going and listening to music on YouTube isn't really enough, in the sense that if you really want to support your favorite artists,
Yeah.
I'm not saying go support me. I'm just saying generally, if you want to be supporting your favorite artists, like you need to, especially if they're not like already like, matlab, if they haven't made it, if they're still indie musicians. Yeah, I mean, matlab, there's many bands here in Pakistan as well. There's this metal band Taka Tak who have actually made quite a following in India as well.
I love the name. I think I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're insane. They're not humans. Like, unka bhi but unka bhi yahi hai कि they started Bandcamp and like all these other, like they've made avenues in which people can come and actually donate to them, because क्या करें और like क्या कर सकते हैं. Takatak being a progressive metal band who's then they write in English, they're not going to be getting corporate shows, like, so they have to like, I don't know, like crowdfunding, I guess, may actually just be another like thing for the future, in the sense for artists, especially during this pandemic, like when we don't even have gigs, like kya kare.
Yeah, I get it. So is language a huge, is it a deal breaker or a deal maker for when it comes to, getting gigs other than stuff in colleges or schools?
For sure. I mean, most people, जो I don't know if अगर यहाँ पे कोई like एकदम से French में concerts होने शुरू हो जाएं, तो I wouldn't even go either, right? Like मतलब I would go if I can actually understand the music as well, or if it speaks to me. So that is a huge like barrier, especially for super talented artists like Abdullah Siddiqui, who would probably be like the number one in the game right now if only they were singing more in Urdu. And I'm not saying he should because he's already so good and he doesn't need to. But if he wants to like properly get shows everywhere and get all of that, then yeah, I mean, language is a huge go because like आप 90%, 80 to 90% of the population से तो आप connect ही नहीं कर पा रहे अगर आप English में गा रहे हो, you know.
Yeah, I get what you mean. By the way, I must say, Abdullah Siddiqui has a fan following amongst some of my friends also who listen to
Yeah,
him.
shukar hai.
I think he did something with Fawad Khan, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, he produced a song for Fawad Khan.
Yeah, so she's like, oh, he did this for Fawad, and I said, oh, how cool! I listened to it. I haven't yet, but I probably will eventually. Are you finding a space for English independent music, or for like in English independent artists like India is?
I don't think so, yeah. I don't know when Nescafe Basement got Abdullah to do a song for them. And then when that song within like 2 days hit 1 million views, like everyone was quite, okay, damn, okay, no, this is possible because like to a certain point, like if the music is really good, like music becomes universal, then like it doesn't have to be in a specific language. Like I understand that whole argument and I wish it was so. But in the indie scene, yeah, because indie scene ka matlab ye you're independent. Like that just means that you can make whatever kind of music you want, and it also comes with these facts. मतलब living in Pakistan कि आपको नहीं मिलेंगी ज़्यादा gigs और आप ज़्यादा पैसे नहीं कमाओगे. But you kind of know that because you're an indie musician in the first place. You're not trying to go and break into the mainstream. But if you want to break into the mainstream and become like a pop artist, then yeah, I feel like language is a huge barrier maybe for those who want to sing in English. But at the same time, it's understandable as well. Like जो यहाँ की लोगों की जुबान है उनको उसी में ही I guess that's
वो
what they
समझ
want.
में भी आती है. They can understand it better.
आप चाहते हैं कि आपकी आइडेंटिटी भी फिर उसी से ही लिंक्ड हो ना. अगर आपने लाइक एक इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे भी आप एक मतलब एक आइडेंटिटी बिल्ड कर रहे हो अपनी म्यूजिकल, you don't want it to be in English because 80% of the people don't speak English here, you know. So it doesn't make sense either. I feel like
I get it. What's the definition of pop music in Pakistan?
pop music is just, I guess, popular music, right? Like जो भी the definition of pop music in Pakistan is Coke Studio.
Yeah, I mean, we thank you for that.
Unfortunately for us.
Why unfortunately? What was your response to it when it started and now?
So like remember when I was telling you for the longest time we didn't have gigs and we didn't really have music because of security reasons and everything.
Yeah.
So एक vacuum ban gaya tha, and then that's when Coke kind of comes into the story and just like creates a monopoly over music and starts their marketing campaigns which market Coke Studio as the sound of the nation without even asking the nation whether the nation wants this to be their sound or not.
Really?
Yeah, I mean like मतलब अगर आप टीवी पे बस सारे चैनल्स पे कोक स्टूडियो लगा होगा और आप बार बार साउंड ऑफ द नेशन और वो टीवी कवरेज किसी और को नहीं मिलती कभी भी because no one can compete with Coke. Like I mean that's just not possible. So I mean they just took advantage of this vacuum and now अब थोड़ा कम हो गया over the past 2-3 years, but for the longest time they just had a monopoly over music. Like no independent artists can compete with the marketing budgets that Coke's gonna have, right? Matlab, to market their music and to market their product. No one else can compete. So it kind of became like for 4 or 5 years, it was just everyone waits a whole year ताकि कोक स्टूडियो जो है वो 1 महीने के अंदर कोई 8 गाने निकाले और फिर हम अगला पूरा साल वही 8 गाने सुनेंगे और उनमें से कोई 1-2 गाने ऐसे होंगे जो कि कोई और आर्टिस्ट भी कवर कर लेंगे और फिर वो भी और ज्यादा हो जाएंगे. Yeah, that's our pops.
It's like a vicious cycle, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's breaking now. Because Coke Studio ka pishla season didn't do as well as it used to, and because of other artists like Shamoon as well. I mean, एक थोड़ी सी आपको वो थोड़ी मिलती है like यार अच्छा अगर independent मतलब म्यूजिशियन होते हुए अगर आप इतनी फेम अचीव कर सकते हो तो maybe you don't need like because then people would be like they would make their sound and their whole music sound more suitable for Coke Studio so that they could eventually get selected into Coke Studio. And Coke Studio जब बस recycle करे गानों को और recycle करे artists को, like if you go and see the roster over the years, like you'll be surprised to find कि कितने लोग repeat होते हैं. And it's just like doing hella covers and not doing enough originals. And like when you're doing covers and wohi covers ko itni zyada coverage mil rahi hai on like TV and everything, and then people are listening to it, and then they'll also be inspired to do more covers.
Yeah.
And then it just like becomes this, yeah.
That happens here too. How many seasons has Coke Studio finished?
I think 8 or 9, maybe more. I'm not
No,
sure.
I feel like बहुत टाइम से चल रहा है ना. I think I remember 2010, 2011 or something, it gained momentum in India, where everyone was listening to Coke Studio and just going like, oh my god, so good. And then we started it, and then I could not after a point. I think some of it was great.
Agreed. Some of it was amazing, especially like the first 3-4 seasons. There was some really cool stuff happening. But वही बार-बार तो नहीं आप कर सकते ना. You have to like evolve with time, and you have to evolve because आप पे फिर एक responsibility भी आ रही है कि हर साल कोई millions of people are going to listen to your music or the music that you put out. Then you also have a responsibility to slowly evolve your sound as well, rather than just keep it the same as it was 6 years ago. Like, then you're not really allowing your industry to grow or to. They made a really sorry attempt to incorporate hip hop like a couple of seasons ago, and it was just terrible because like it didn't even represent jo yahan ka proper hip hop scene tha. So I mean, I feel like hip hop is that one genre that however hard you try, you can't really capitalize on it because it's so unfiltered and it's so raw, and at one point it is gonna like bite your hand off. So
I'm sure it's not. But then what do you do when there's such a monopoly like that?
For the longest time, we couldn't do anything. And yeah, मुझे भी नहीं पता. I'd love to know how to break this monopoly.
In India, we have this thing with indie artists that now only in the past maybe 9 years they've started gaining momentum, and you know the likes of Pratik Kuhad and Mali and who else? I'm thinking of names of people that are like my friend Karshni, Tejas Menon. All of them have gained momentum only in the past 9 years. But then before that, and even now, there's such a huge thing about Bollywood music that it just overpowers it. No matter how much you try with originals, they will still use that, and then most of that is plagiarized.
Yeah.
और अभी तो हमने एक चीज start किया where we'll use songs from 50-60 years ago and make terrible remixes of it.
I just don't understand like ज़रूरत क्या होती है when you have other artists that are making newer stuff. Like why would you still want to like support remixes and everything?
Yeah, and it's like I don't know how to deal with it. It's in the sense of as a consumer, because I'm not a musician, but then I consume a lot of music on a daily basis. There's so much out there, and there's so many wonderful people, and there's certain sections of India that we completely just ignore the music of. Like the Northeast, for example, we know very little about the Northeast Indian culture and all of that. And it gets difficult, I feel like. So I have a few questions I've already asked, but something I want to start off with finishing the ones that I've received from people. So then I can ask him my questions. So someone asked, what are some names of drummers in Pakistan apart from Ahad Nayani?
The Rame brothers, the super Rame brothers, Yusuf Rame and Daud Rame. Anyone who's a drummer in India needs to go and check out these brothers. They play for every band in the Pakistani indie scene, and I kid you not, every band like Takatak, Kide Makode, Sikandar Ka Mandir, Janubi Khargosh. They also play like their session players for Umair Jiswal, for basically anyone. Like I feel like these two are the best in Pakistan. Daud and Yusuf for sure. Also the sweetest guys ever, like super humble. Like, they don't realize that these guys are superhuman. Like it's insane.
I'm sure. I'll tell him. I'll tell him to listen to this. I like the names of these bands, by the way.
Yeah, वो
Kide
हमारे
Makode is my favorite so far. What kind of music is that?
जनूबी खरगोश भी हैं.
What does Janubi mean?
Janubi is southern.
Oh,
Himali is north and Janubi is southern. So it's southern rabbit. Yes, Janubi Khargosh is like, यार क्या है Janubi का is, I guess it's spacey synth rock.
ooh, that sounds
Yeah,
fancy.
they're really interesting. And then Kira Makode is like, they're pretty rock and roll and like funk as well.
Mm-hmm.
I guess थोड़े से उसमें हैं funk vibes. And then Taka Tak is fully prog metal. Sikandar Ka Mandir is rock. They're my favorite band. Like they're the only rock that I can listen to. Like बाकी मेरी बात सो गई है.
Right.
Yeah, ये लोग हैं.
Okay, next question. Does isolation from mainstream media act as a detox for the indie industry? Like, okay, thank God it's not that bad. For
नहीं.
indie films or indie music, anything.
I don't think it's good for the indie scene at all. I mean, detox implies कि हम पहले उसका हिस्सा थे and now we need a break, right? We were never a part of it. So like, I feel like it does more harm than it does good. I guess कुछ लोग होते हैं एक दो who will be really happy कि oh we have the creative freedom. But if whatever you make out of your creative freedom is just going to reach 15 people, then I'm sure those people will not like eventually be happy with the situation either. Like, I don't think any indie artist likes the fact that they're indie. Like, I don't think anyone wants to be indie. They're like, I don't want to be indie. And just in the sense that I want to be pop. Like, so I feel like indie is more of like a necessity in the sense that or option. So no, I don't think so.
No, I think the question had more to do with like, is there a sense of relief? Ki, acha, if at least I don't have that pressure of creating something different every time, or that pressure of, it not being received well at all, and then it's like a downward spiral.
I guess some of those thoughts are still with you. Like indie artists के लिए भी होती ही हैं. But like then again, like एक different pressure है for indie artists कि like कोई देखेगा ही नहीं या कोई सुनेगा ही नहीं. I get the pressure कि you have to like be at your like best all the time, or like put out your best work, or have to face so much criticism as well by like because of public opinion and everything. But इधर तो ये है कि like बाकी indie artists तो वो किसी तक पहुंचता ही नहीं है उनका. So even if they were to have that feeling of relief okay we don't have these pressures, they have that other pressure like this isn't going to do anything, like it's not going to make any waves at all in the first place. Like, so I guess एक हद तक कुछ लोगों को अच्छा लगता होगा कि उन पे नहीं है वो pressures, but I'm sure that they would rather that their work at least reaches people.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you ever think that an indie artist can become pop? And by indie, I mean independent and not signed to a label, because that's a misconception that some artists call themselves indie even if they're signed to a label.
Yeah, I don't want to believe that you can't, because then it makes everything that I'm doing quite pointless. But I mean, for the longest time, we didn't have an example, and like just as I mentioned before, like I feel like Shamoon has kind of shown people that we can maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really hopeful because I have no option but to be hopeful and to hope for the best. But yeah, I mean, मुश्किल ही है.
Yeah, we have a fan following for Shamoon also out here. So I had a random friend who's like, "Oh my God, Shamoon smells so great," and I said, "Okay." And I didn't. It's because I feel like I don't. Even your music, I just discovered it on a random playlist on Spotify. Speaking of Spotify, congratulations on being the top song in the Sound of Pakistan.
Thank you so much.
I hope that breaks the Coke Studio stereotype somewhere.
I think so.
Yeah, because every time we talk Pakistani music, a lot of my fans will think Coke Studio immediately.
Yeah, you need to ask them to unlearn all these
things.
I
am. This podcast is an attempt for that, give them stuff like Kide Makode, Sorry?
I'm saying we need a revolution from the audience as well, like to be like, nahi, hum nahi sunenge. Like,
I'm
you,
sure, and I'm sure it's possible also. I think after a time, अगर कोई रोज बिरयानी खाओगे तो दाल चावल कहीं ना कहीं तो अच्छा लगेगा.
for sure. लेकिन पता है सबसे sad बात ये है कि अगर मुझे अभी option मिले कोक स्टूडियो करने की, so I'd do it. Like, cause that's your quickest way to like reach the
Yeah.
top. Like, Dusty, you've just made it. If you got to Coke Studio and your song did well, you've made it for the next 10 years at least. Because they're gonna keep calling you back to Coke Studio as well. And like just generally you're gonna get all sorts of gigs affiliated with Coke, like Coke festive food festivals ho rahe hote hain, and like corporate gigs and everything. So I mean, like, I do agree that it's bad for the industry, but I also understand why someone, if they were offered the chance to be on Coke Studio, like, I would understand why they would go. Like, at the same time, like,
I get that. Do you think artists, in general, irrespective of what country they're in, do well with one, competition, and two, criticism?
I think competition, though, for sure. Competition always. I mean, I can only speak from personal experience, but मेरे लिए तो for sure, like, I have to constantly compete with everyone around me, like in the music scene, and
Yeah.
like, matlab, it just fuels me to like keep working harder, right? Like, and like for any artist that I'm a fan of and I listen to, and उनका कोई नया गाना आता है and I really like it, तो मुझे खुशी होती है कि damn, okay, they released a great song, but at the same time it's like, okay, time to get back to work. Like, I need to
Yeah.
top this. So it's that. I mean, I feel like that's what drives me as well, like to constantly be competing with other people. Obviously, not to the point that I start hating them,
Hmm.
but to just, I feel like I have to like have that thing with me constantly because it just pushes me to like work harder. Criticism, yeah, if it's constructive criticism, then yeah, of course, but most criticism isn't very constructive because I mean, it can still come from an innocent place and from like a मतलब अच्छी जगह से आ सकती है criticism, but उसका I don't know. It's sometimes criticism comes with the sense of entitlement as well. Okay, oh
Yeah.
no, we'll tell you, what you should sound like, or oh, maybe you should have done this, or you should have done that. And like, I get it. Like, if it, I understand that the intention is just to help me or whatever. But like, whatever I'm doing, like, I don't. People should know that if an artist is putting out something, they've obviously thought a lot about it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, try and follow the artist's vision as well. I mean, give it a try before, like, because कभी कभार ऐसे भी होता है, play songs for people और वो पहली listen में भी पूरा गाना खत्म भी नहीं हुआ होता है, and they like immediately like start giving criticism, and it's like, bro, एक second, like, सुन तो लो पूरा, listen to it a couple of times and then tell me how you feel, or maybe it's just not for you. Doesn't mean that I have to change my sound. But I also feel like for a lot of artists who have kind of like made it big, उनके लिए criticism सुनना बहुत मुश्किल भी हो जाता है, and then it gets in the way of their progress and their evolution as well, because I mean, the goal should always be to
Be better.
good music,
Yeah.
and yeah, exactly. So I mean, if someone's advice is going to help you achieve that, then go for it. But at the same time, like, you have to have that self belief as well कि no, मैंने अगर कुछ किया था तो कोई वजह थी उसकी, like there was some reasoning behind it. Like, I feel like confidence is more important.
I get that. I get what you mean. So you're studying political science, like you told me earlier. So why did you not pick music as something to pursue academically?
Because there's no institutions here that have any music degrees.
Really?
Yeah, there's one we at Juyanka National College of Arts in Lahore. They
Hmm.
have a musicology program,
Hmm.
but it's not like supposed to be good at all. Like, you don't really learn much out of it. And उसके अलावा कोई आसपास भी degree नहीं है
Do
related
you
to
think any
music.
avenues will open?
I hope so, but not anytime soon. I don't think so. Film का अब जाके आया है, imagine, like recently जाके like BNU एक और university है and NCA, like they have good film programs now. And like matlab audio usme, I don't think people even realize that matlab there's a thing such as audio engineering and
Hmm.
like music production. Ye proper degrees hoti hain which like you learn over the course of 2-3 years, like just like any other degree. Like but there's just no avenues here right now. They weren't. If they were, so I'd definitely be doing that. But chance nahi mila. So maybe for my masters, I'd do something related to music.
I get it. It's not. So, what do you guys do when it comes to learning production, or you learning it? How did you do it?
YouTube.
Everyone's best friend. So, tell me a little more. So, I one of the questions I was very eager to ask you is because this is something that I see rising in India. What is the music of dissent like?
Hmm. Um. Yeah. I feel like there's only one artist that properly embodies dissent in Pakistan. That's Faris Shafi. Have you heard Faris's? Are you familiar with his work?
No, not at all.
Yeah. So Faris, ne, other than his most recent song that he released this year, every song of his has gotten banned.
What?
Yeah, because his content is, I mean, it's just unfiltered, like to an extent that's never been done before. And like he's like, his content is imagine like the Eminem of Pakistan, if that was even allowed. So Faris is very like his first 2-3 songs were really political as well. And एक उसने कुछ मौलवियों के बारे में भी एक गाना निकाला था और ये और वो. So he's been very like मतलब actively like उसका his initial work was very aggressive
Hmm.
and very revolutionary in that sense that it called for like a stop to
Right.
all of this. It was just an honest look in the mirror. Like that's the thing actually. That's why people some people hated it that much because it was way too honest and it forced them to actually look at themselves in the mirror. So I feel like hip hop is always supposed to be like the music of dissent, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, यहाँ पे भी I think Faris ही है. उसके अलावा like I don't think यहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा political काम बनता है. Like सिकंदर का मंदिर's album 36,
Hmm.
that was a political album as well, but it wasn't really like revolutionary or it wasn't in your face like as much as probably Faris. So I mean exist करता है, but like as political dissent तो Faris है, but just any sort of like calling against norms or you were generally like trying to just be yourself and not like do whatever society tells you to do. उस तरह के micro level पे तो काफी सारे artists हैं जो के who are like even with CGPA my aim was to kind of like show the darker side of what it is like like constantly having to compare people who are interested in arts with like how they're doing in university studying something that they're not exactly as interested in either. So I mean I wouldn't call it dissent but like thoda sa ek rebellion type ek matlab rebellious sa ek attitude hai music mein, that's for sure.
Do you think music is political or art is political?
Not all art is political or all music, but some music is. I mean, I feel like there's एक balance और एक parallel में दोनों चीजों को चलना बहुत जरूरी है. There has to be political art and there has to be like apolitical art as well. That doesn't have anything to do with it, and it's just generally like. And I feel like मैं थोड़ा latter में fall करता हूँ because most of my stuff isn't political at all. But that doesn't mean that the things that I'm talking about aren't worth talking about.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because वो एक बन जाते हैं ना, because
Hmm.
generally feel like hip hop artists पे भी एक बहुत pressure होता है कि ओ आप hip hop कर रहे हो, so you have to like be telling stories, and like I mean, I will also be telling stories, but like I will tell my story, and my story might not be highlighting all of the problems that exist in society. Um, but that's not my purpose of doing it either. Like,
Yeah, I get it. It's not. Do you ever see yourself doing something like that?
yeah, I think so. I feel like जब enough गुस्सा चढ़ेगा तो खुद ही हो जाएगा. I'm
Hmm.
not gonna sit down one day and be like, oh, आज एक political गाना लिखते हैं. I think like even with CGPA, it wasn't like oh, आज मैं इसके बारे में बैठ के लिखूंगा. It was just the fact that I had just failed the course, so I was just really angry, and it just happened itself. So I mean, I do I do feel like there is a certain responsibility that falls on every artist, especially जब उनकी reach बढ़ जाए. So they have like I also feel a responsibility where I want to give a positive message as well,
Right.
but I also want to give an honest message. So if someone finds my honesty offensive, then like I mean, in that case, then it's not my job to like cater to their needs, right? Like,
Yeah, you make sense. It's not. We have someone here whose track actually it came out many years ago, but I don't know if you've heard about the protests we were having in India for citizenship and stuff like that. It was huge, and it was like people are being jailed right now through the pandemic because they're using the pandemic as an excuse that people won't come out to protest. But then there was this one person called Dab Sharma who took out parts of I don't know if you've heard of Kanhaiya Kumar. So he was a student. I think he was the president of the student union in JNU in Delhi, and he was charged under sedition and all of that. So his go-to he's a very great orator. He's a brilliant orator. Pretty much like our prime minister, however, obviously on a very different note. So he would, he had this way of, getting people to say Azadi. So his lines were, Bhukmari se Azadi, fir Jat Paat se Azadi, Brahmanvad se Azadi. And, talking about caste, talking about hunger, poverty, and stuff like that. And so Dab Sharma took a sample of a bunch of his speeches and he put it all together. And it was beautiful. And then the song actually came out in Gully Boy, which helped revolutionize hip hop in India.
it was in Gully Boy.
Yeah. There was a little sample of it in Gully Boy, and then I went to the original track, and that's when I realized that it's pretty old. This dissent is more about not against the government per se, but against the establishment in general. So it's very anti-establishment. So stuff like Divine did this thing about talking about something about तुम्हारे घर में कमरे 8 है पर लोग 4 है. So it was pretty cool. I like how they work with lyrics.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Hip-hop पे एक बहुत एक उस तरह का आ जाता है because it's always supposed to be like the voice of the people.
Yeah.
And it's always been like मतलब it was more of like a मतलब a reactionary movement now because hip hop is born out of like जो Black Panther era in New York, and there were a lot of fires in the Bronx, and then they started protesting, and that's how it kind of like so it's always been like like the music for revolution and everything. And I feel like you need to really like I think you really like Faris's work. You should check him out because he's speaking against the state, the establishment, the like religious mafia, like literally everyone. Like and then the best part is he's not speaking from like a higher place or anything. Like वो साथ साथ अपने flaws भी बता रहा होता है कि dude, like I'm no different, like because then when you're being such like if you're gonna be like talk in third person and tell a story about how everything is so wrong and everything, तो उसमें सवाल ये होता है कि where do you stand in it as well, like you're really talking about yourself. So he does that really well, and like everything about his songs are just phenomenal, I feel.
I'll check it out. So do you have any questions that you may have received about the Indian indie scene? Since I'm not a musician, but I'm a consumer, so I could probably help with it.
Yeah, so mostly the questions were yehi wo ke to who are other indie artists in India other than Pratik and Ritviz and Lifafa, because Lifafa ki like especially in Lahore like he has a decent following, like especially in my university like everyone listens to Lifafa. I'm sure
Lifafa's great. All of them phenomenal, by the way. I love them very much. But I mean, I have a little bias towards some of them, but that's a different thing. It's just my taste in music. So other than them, we have Nikhil D'Souza, we have the Local Train, we have As We Keep Searching, Easy Wanderlings, who are brilliant. We have Ankur and the Ghalat family. We have Mali, who is lovely. Tejas Menon. Karshni Nair, she is someone I've known personally, and I've had the privilege to see her. She started out on like this. I saw her on stage, her first gig ever, where she was like so scared to go, and now she's doing so well. Then we have Tabachake, who's really, growing, and he brings a lot of fresh energy. And some lesser known ones are Loyal. It's Lojal. He has a song called Phases, and he performed it. I don't know. Does Pakistan have Sofar?
No.
But you know what Sofar is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I watched some of them on Sofar, so Loyal did one a cappella thing, but it wasn't exactly a cappella because there were instruments involved. But then you had your harmonies. There were about, for one person, there were so many people around, so it created such a beautiful experience. Then we have Raghav Niatul, who is someone you should listen to. I love Mali a lot. I love Aditi Ramesh. Uh, then Shruti Vishwanath, who works with the, I think Shruti is the one who works with the harp. I don't remember. I'm not. Oh no, that's Nush Lewis. I'm so sorry. Nush Lewis is this artist who plays the harp and she sings. She is beautiful, very soulful voice. Then Kanchan Daniel works with a lot of jazz, and she has this really strong voice. And I really like her because she's very vocal about her struggle with cancer, and she doesn't let that, come in the way, which is brilliant. Then you have, I think, there's Thermal and a Quarter. Some of the older ones that I really like are Swaratma, and some of the famous ones are Indian Ocean, Euphoria, Agni. I don't know if you've heard of any of these people.
I haven't, and that's amazing because I still get to hear them for the first time now. Like,
Oh yeah, they're brilliant. There's Parvaz, Easy Wanderlings. I already said.
because I missed some of them.
Sorry.
I'm saying you must send me a list as well because I missed some of them. Like I won't remember names.
I will. Some of my favorite ones. So there's some of my friends who are called Coffee for Giraffes. And there's this track they have that's called Death by Cocktail. Then my friend, Death by Cocktail is about my friend when he was in Nepal and he got very drunk and he doesn't remember and he woke up with a bruised face and everything. So there was a very strong cocktail he had, so that's why it's called Death by Cocktail, which is hilarious. There's the F16s. They have really cool album names. Check them out on Spotify. Not actually J Babe. So the lead of F16s is Josh, and he works under the alias of J Babe. And let me actually look for the name because I want to read it out. It's quite funny. I discovered it and it was hilarious. So there was this track that's called I'll Get the Check, We Can Split the Regret. And then I think he has more stuff, which is, hold on, I think there was this one, okay, I can't find it right now, but I'll Get the Check, We Split the Regret is hilarious. And I have a friend called Zain who's, he has this track called Cinnamon. So like how I feel about Darwaze, I feel like that about Cinnamon, but Cinnamon is very, it's on a completely different spectrum. Like I'll make him play it wherever. He was performing somewhere and I told someone in the audience to go up to him and I wasn't there. I was like, go up to him and request the song. And then he stares back and he goes like, Sanghamitra sent you, didn't she? Because I'm always asking for it. Because I see that potential. Like Pune's indie scene is thriving. There are a lot of people all over the country, but these are the people I've had the privilege to watch. Give me a genre and I'll give you artists to listen to.
Yeah, hip hop. I recently I started listening to a lot of Indian hip hop. Me and a friend who's a hip hop head, like हम लोग मिलके हम cycling करते हैं और उसके बाद बैठ के hip hop discover कर रहे होते हैं.
Cycling करके hip hop, that's cool.
Yeah, that's the flow these days. Let's see. I'm really tired of like acoustic singer songwriters. Like
Hmm.
I just can't anymore. So anything that's, I don't know. Do you guys have a funk scene? Because I've heard like Peter Cat Recording Company, who's the
They're
same dude,
so good.
right? They were really interesting. Like, by the way, are they the same person? Are they like the Papa and Peter Cat?
I actually don't know. I
I
have
think they are. I
I
think so.
haven't you know checked up on that. But if you were tired of acoustics but want something, I won't say something different. I would recommend my friend Nida. So if you look up Nida Siddiqui, she has this song called "And I Love," and she has a different voice. There's something very different about it.
I'll
So
check it out for
you
sure.
should. I don't know if Peter Cat and Lifafa are the same person. Actually, I should check.
I
Maybe
think
I'll
I'm
get
pretty
back to you.
because they sound the same, like they're exactly the same. And I think I googled it once, and I don't know actually. Like, please let me know if you find out.
I will. I will. I think I'm sure there will be something that I can find. Other than that, with funk, I have to think. There were some artists who had like a funk phase, but the names don't come to me. Uh, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
found an Indian artist recently that I really like.
who.
Prabh Deep.
Oh, the Punjabi guy.
Yeah, I love him, man. I love it. Like I love his flows. They're such bhangra flows, but
Yeah.
they're on lo-fi and like nice neo soul arrangements. It's like nothing I've ever heard before, and it just gels really well together. Like I just
You,
recently discovered him. I can't stop listening. Like,
I didn't even know who he was until he came to Pune, and my friend, and he's huge in Punjab. he's he's just huge, like you can't, he's untouchable. But my friend goes like, Prabdeep is in Pune, let's go to that bar he's at, let's go. And my friend's like trying to drag me, and I can't. He was like a super fan, and I didn't get the hype. I feel like a lot of, I don't know, do you think there's like a sense of elitism with the music we listen to?
kiss sense, man.
Mane ki mera genre is like, I won't listen to too much of it. I'm open to it, but zyada nahi. Mera genre best.
It's a favoritism of sense, man.
Huh.
Yeah, वो तो होता है. I mean, that's different for everyone. Like, I'm the type of person who can listen to anything other than like rock and roll. Like at this point, so
I can listen to everything. It's
yeah,
why. What do you have against rock and roll?
यार बस होगी है ना. Like कितना और मैं सुनूं किसी गिटार को distortion के साथ, unless they're doing stuff like taka tak, which is like just genius stuff.
Hmm.
उसके अलावा I don't know, it's just a me thing. Like, that's just my opinion. I'm over it because it's just been happening in Pakistan for way too long, and like बस लोग निकल नहीं रहे उससे, and it just gets really annoying for anyone else who's trying to do any other genre, like, because there's this weird obsession with rock.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. It's there's like, but I see a lot of, in Pune at least. I'm not going to speak for the rest of the country, but in Pune, I see a lot of people. Like it's like a high school clique. So your techno heads will be one place, your rock lovers will be in one place, your hip hop lovers will be one place, and I'll be jumping between all of them. A bunch of my friends and I, we just go all around, and we're like the hippies.
It's the best.
I think it really helps because it probably shuts you off a little
Yeah.
bit. एंड कभी कभी तो उतना, मतलब पहले रॉक के बहुत गिग्स होते थे और अभी कम हो गए, बहुत कम होते हैं.
शुक्र है.
अरे यार, I mean, some of them were really nice. I remember there was this one time, this band called Switcheroo from Bangalore. They're a new metal band, and they came down to Blue Frog in Pune. And at that time, Blue Frog was close to closing down. And I remember I was photographing that gig, and I was in the office, and that was the only time that an artist caught my attention like that. It was They were so good, but unfortunately, because of the place's location, and so many gigs happening at the same day, there was nobody except the bartenders and me to listen, and the management to listen to them. But they still performed.
I've played such gigs.
Yeah, what's that like? Like, are you like more like, acha, I'll just get done with it, or I'll just experiment because it's empty?
You're one of the first like concerts that I ever like organized myself for. Like उस तरह का उस पे my mom and my aunt were the only
How
people.
sweet, but that's important, no?
Yeah, I mean, once you played a gig like that, उसके बाद कोई और शो जितना भी बुरा हो आपको होता है कि उससे बुरा नहीं हो सकता मेरे साथ कभी फिर से, you know, like it's just never gonna be as bad as that, so it's good. Like it's,
Yeah. But then,
and
what's your attitude towards it if the crowd is low, or do you care about the crowd at all, or the amount of people?
I'm there. It's my job to make sure the crowd is entertained. When I'm on stage, it's not for me because they're the ones who paid for it. Like they're the ones that I need to impress. So it's all for the crowd. Like, yeah. To be honest, I only properly started performing this year. I mean, just मुझे अपने पूरे sets बजाने थे and everything.
Hmm.
So I mean, I feel like अभी तक तो it's happened quite like naturally in the moment. Like the crowd just likes the music, and then over time, every show I play, I learn a few new tricks, you know, on how to interact with the crowd. And then at LMM, it was just crazy because, like, I feel like I played like around like 10 shows in
Hmm.
my whole build up to LMM.
Hmm.
So I feel like मुझे इतनी practice होगी हुई थी कि like when I was performing at LMM, I had the confidence, I had the matlab, I knew what to say to the crowd at what point and everything, and I feel like I did a good job. Everyone was dancing, everyone was having a lot of fun. So I mean, it's for the crowd. Any musician who says, "Okay, oh no, I don't care about the crowd," is just being arrogant and not like need to like tone down their ego, because when you're just making music or you're recording, उस वक्त हो सकता है आपके अपने आप के लिए हो, but when you're playing a show, तो it's a performing art, man. It's not supposed to be just about you anymore.
Right. Right. Are you able to create that distinction between the two?
Yeah. I mean, just like you, आप offend नहीं हो सकते while on stage अगर लोगों को मजा नहीं आ रहा. Like, okay, that just means maybe you played the wrong song at the wrong time, or you did this, or you're not doing enough. Or if you've tried everything and they still don't like it, so easy scene, and then that just means that those weren't the people there for you. But like you're right, actually, the distinction can get a bit blurry at like sometimes as well. But it's just knowing that when you're on stage, you have a responsibility to the people who are listening because they took
Yeah.
out the time to be here and to be listening to you. And other than that as well, you have an opportunity as an artist to convert strangers into fans.
Yeah.
So, and you need fans in order to survive. And that was the main purpose that you started doing music in the first place. So, like, I mean, फिर आपको करना पड़ता है accordingly. Like, then you have to learn from it and realize that it's more than just about making yourself happy.
Yeah. Yeah, but honestly, I think your mom and your aunt being there was better in general.
I mean,
I'm
they've
sure.
been there at every gig ever. So, like,
Yeah. I've been doing these live streams, and my mom and her friend are the only people who'll consistently watch. And the one time her friend didn't show up, my entire live stream got messed up. So I was like, you are not allowed to, not show up if I do it.
moms are the best.
Oh, yeah, they're great. They're great. So, do you have any other questions for the Indian indie scene?
Yeah, and, एक तो like यही था, and then उसके अलावा it was I didn't get too many questions, but another one was कि like मतलब उधर भी like are there different pockets of scenes, because or is there like an, because Pakistan में तो ये है ना, we don't have a music industry,
Hmm.
we have a music scene.
Yeah.
Like we can't call it an industry.
Yeah.
So outside of Bollywood, is it more of a scene or a culture, or just pockets of different people working together or working? Like,
I think it's from whatever I have seen, it's pockets that are growing together to become a culture. So originally there was we have, like I said, it's basically like a clique, and it holds true with almost every major city, or any city for that matter, where we also had this thing in Pune with restaurants and bars, and I worked at some of them, so I have there's a little thing in my head where Tuesdays and Thursdays are for live gigs, Wednesdays, maybe live gigs if someone else is doing a live gig on a Tuesday or a Thursday, or for comedy. And on Fridays, you had your Fridays and Saturdays were for your techno and your house, and mostly techno. Techno is huge in Pune. And other than that, on Sundays it's your brunch time, so it could either be a sundowner, mellow house vibe or a tech house vibe, or we have some pop country rock that plays somewhere during brunch. So there are like, there's a big difference in the consumers. Like you won't always see blues is, has quite the following in Pune. Like there are dedicated people who will always be at a blues gig. There are dedicated people who will always be at a particular genre. There is an industry, but it's a very unspoken industry. It's very disorganized. It's not an organized industry. However, with music festivals, that is an industry. So all of that pulls under the events industry, nightlife. So nightlife has all of this in one.
So yeah, I understand.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it's like for you guys though, because even when you said the whole thing about schools and colleges, we barely have something like that.
यहाँ पे सिर्फ वही है. But वो फिर होते हैं ना कि like it's not open for public, anyone can buy tickets.
हाँ.
It's only for those people जो school के हैं या वो teams जो आए हुए हैं और school से. So I mean, but at the same time, like शुक्र है कि at least ये तो है. So yeah, I'm just gonna be grateful about that, I think.
Yeah, but when you say school, do you mean college, like a business school, or are you talking about like a high school?
High school and colleges.
No, we have college fests, but nothing. I have never heard of anything that happens in schools unless annually.
School level be MUNs and like art competitions and like all sorts of different like science theme competitions. Every school in Lahore, like every elitist school or like generally like just because यहाँ पे इसी तरह chains है ना like schools की भी. So all of these main big chains, like each school has like 3 to 4 competitions every year, and each one will be like different in the sense, and one will be a science thing, one will be arts thing, one will be like a new business idea competition, and then ek MUN or hoga, and then all of these events have socials nights as well. So you're the main aim, at least for me, I can't speak for anyone else, because a lot of people in our indie scene don't really want to do this either. But मेरा तो ये to actually like just like उस circle में पहुंचना कि इस age group में people are listening to my music so that I can be playing those shows, because those are the only, because all year वो throughout the academic year होती रहेंगी चीजें, so it's like the only like consistent gig that anyone you.
Right. And so what's next for you?
If I have the album out by the time this is out, so just my plan is to just keep consistently releasing music. I have enough songs for the next 2 albums, so it's just gonna be figuring out like the production of like final versions बस हर गाने के बनाने हैं, but like matlab I already have 2 more albums planned, and then a lot of collaborations as well. I have an album planned with a producer that I've always wanted to work with, and it's just like we have some songs down and it's turning out to be like really great. And then there's another Lahori rapper called Rosio, and he only has 2 songs out yet. He raps in English, but he is by far the best rapper that I have ever heard. And
really?
Like, in person, for sure, yeah. Like the hardest rapper I know, for sure. So, and he also produces his own stuff. So we've been hitting the studio and like working on a mixtape, like a full hip-hop collaborative mixtape with 7-8 songs. I haven't really heard a mixtape as like a hip-hop mixtape as such come out of Lahore. So I want that to be the next thing out there, because like there's 2 different personalities in my music, right? Maanu and Chotas. So अभी बहुत सारी चीजें. Most of this album was Maanu. अभी जो अब्दुल्ला के साथ collab निकली है, that was also Maanu. I have another collab coming out with Taha. That's also Maanu. So now after this, it's gonna be time for Chotis and time for some offensive hip hop.
Ooh, that's fun.